The big meeting room on planet Nexus Prime was full of alien beings from all over the galaxy. The room was huge, with walls made of crystal that sparkled in the light of two suns. Representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their special chairs, waiting for the important announcement. Ambassador Zethkara from the Vrex Empire stood up. He was tall and covered in hard shell-like skin that looked like armor. His voice was loud and clear as he spoke to everyone in the room. "We have studied the species called humans for many years," he said. "After careful consideration, we have made our decision. Humans are now classified as Tier 5 sentients. This means they are at the bottom of our ranking system." The other aliens nodded their heads in agreement. The Altarians, who could read minds, agreed with the decision. The Cathmar, who were masters of energy weapons, also supported it. Even the peaceful Yon species, who usually tried to help everyone, said nothing to defend the humans. Zethkara continued his speech. "Humans have primitive technology. They live very short lives compared to us. They are also very aggressive and violent. Because of these reasons, they cannot be full members of our Galactic Confederation." The room was quiet as the aliens listened. This was not just a simple announcement. It was a decision that would affect the entire human race. "From today forward," Zethkara said, "humans are forbidden from making colonies outside their solar system. They can only trade basic materials with us. Their military is too weak to be considered a real threat to anyone." The aliens in the room made sounds of approval. Some clicked their claws, others hummed in their strange languages. They all believed they were making the right choice. Far away from this meeting, on a space station orbiting Earth's moon, Captain Jake Morrison was sitting in his command center. He was 42 years old and had been in the space military for 20 years. His face showed the marks of many battles, but his eyes were still sharp and alert. Jake was reading a message on his computer screen when Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant walked over to him. She was his second-in-command and had worked with him for 5 years. She could tell something was wrong by the way he was sitting. "Sir, is everything okay?" Lisa asked. Jake handed her the computer tablet. "Read this. Seems like we just got graded and we didn't pass." Lisa read the message carefully. Her face changed as she understood what it meant. The message was from the Galactic Confederation, and it was not good news for humanity. The message said that humans were now considered one of the lowest forms of intelligent life in the galaxy. They were not allowed to explore beyond their own solar system. They could not build colonies on other planets. Their trade with alien species was limited to selling basic materials like metals and water. "They think we're primitive," Lisa said, looking up from the tablet. Jake nodded. "That's what they think, but they don't know everything about us." Around them, the 50 crew members of the space station continued their work. They checked computers, maintained equipment, and monitored space traffic. None of them knew that their entire species had just been insulted by the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. The space station was called Use Defender, and it was one of the smaller human military bases. It looked simple compared to the huge alien ships that sometimes passed through the solar system. The aliens who saw it thought it was just another basic human construction, but Jake knew better. He had been part of a secret project for the past 10 years. While the aliens thought humans were primitive, the human military had been building something special. Deep in the asteroid belt, hidden where no alien sensors could find them, human engineers had been working day and night. "Lisa," Jake said quietly, "send a coded message to Admiral Roberts on Earth. Tell him the aliens have made their move." Lisa looked confused. "What move, sir?" "They just declared us inferior. That means they think we're not a threat." Jake smiled. But it was not a happy smile. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The message Jake sent was very short, but it would start a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. On Earth, Admiral Roberts received the coded message in his underground command center. He was an old man with gray hair, but his mind was still sharp. Roberts walked to a secure computer and typed in a special code. Across the solar system, hidden bases began to wake up. Ships that had been sleeping in the darkness of space started their engines. Weapons that had been waiting for years were finally activated. The humans had been preparing for this day. They knew the aliens would eventually decide that humanity was not worth respecting. So they had built a defense system that the aliens could not imagine. While the aliens had advanced energy weapons and telepathic powers, humans had focused on something different. They had studied every alien species and learned their weaknesses. They had built weapons designed specifically to fight alien technology. The Galactic Confederation thought they were dealing with a primitive species that barely understood space travel. They saw humans as children who needed to be controlled and guided. They believed their advanced technology and superior numbers would keep humans in their place forever, but they had made a terrible mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt and survive. Every war in human history had taught them how to fight stronger enemies. Every defeat had made them smarter and more dangerous. As the alien representatives on Nexus Prime finished their meeting and returned to their homeworlds, they felt satisfied with their decision. They believed they had solved the human problem without violence. They thought the humans would accept their new status and live quietly in their solar system. They were about to discover that humanity had very different plans for their future among the stars. 3 weeks after the aliens declared humans inferior, the Vrex Empire decided to show their power. Admiral Kestai was chosen to lead a fleet of 12 large warships to the human solar system. Each ship was 1 kilometer long and covered with powerful weapons that could destroy entire cities. Kestai was confident about his mission. He had fought many battles and won them all. The Vrex Empire was one of the strongest military forces in the galaxy. Their ships were fast, their weapons were deadly, and their shields could stop most attacks. "This will be easy," Kestai told his officers as their ships traveled through space toward Earth. "These humans barely know how to build proper spaceships. We will show them our power, and they will obey us for the next 100 years." The alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Jupiter, the largest planet in the human solar system. The 12 Vrex ships arranged themselves in a formation that was designed to look threatening. Their hulls were shining with energy from their powerful shields. Kestai ordered his communications officer to send a message to the humans. "Attention primitive humans," the message said. "This is Admiral Kestai of the Vrex Empire. You will send representatives to our flagship immediately. You must accept your new position in the galaxy and follow our rules." The aliens waited for a response. They expected the humans to be frightened and beg for mercy. Instead, they received a simple message that surprised everyone on the Vrex ships. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Forces. You have 30 minutes to leave our system, or we will remove you ourselves." The alien bridge crew started making sounds that were like laughter in their species. Kestai's mouthparts clicked together in amusement. He could not believe what he had just heard. 30 minutes? Kestai said to his officers. "Remove." "US with what ships?" "Our sensors show they have maybe 20 or 30 vessels in their entire system. All of them are weaker than our smallest escort ship." The other alien officers agreed with their admiral. They had studied human technology and found it very basic. Human ships were slow and their weapons were primitive. The aliens were sure this was just empty threats from a scared species. 20-9 minutes passed. The aliens were starting to get bored when their sensors began detecting something strange. Space around their fleet was shimmering like heat waves on a hot day. The ship's computers were showing massive energy signatures appearing from nowhere. "What is happening?" Kestai demanded from his science officer. Before anyone could answer, 36 human ships suddenly appeared around the Vrex fleet. They had been invisible, hidden by some kind of stealth technology that the aliens had never seen before. These were not the exploration ships that the aliens had been watching. The human vessels had names like UES Vengeance, UES Retribution, and UES Fury. They were sleek and angular, built for fighting rather than exploring. They looked dangerous and efficient. "Impossible," Kestai whispered. "Where did they hide such a large fleet?" The human ships were different from anything the aliens had seen. Most alien vessels were decorated with beautiful designs and bright colors. The human ships were dark and plain, with no decorations at all. They looked like tools made for one purpose only. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system again. Your 30 minutes are up. Last chance to leave peacefully. Kastai was angry now. No primitive species should dare to threaten the mighty Vrex Empire. All ships prepare to fire. Show these humans what happens when they challenge us. But before the aliens could shoot, the human ships attacked first. The aliens expected to see energy beams like all civilized species used. Instead, the humans fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The first Vrex cruiser exploded in a ball of fire and hot gas. The metal slugs had gone right through the alien shields as if they were made of paper. The aliens watched in shock as their most advanced defensive technology was completely useless. How are they doing this? Kastai shouted, "Our shields should stop any attack." His science officer was frantically checking the ship's computers. Sir, they are not using energy weapons. They are firing physical projectiles at nearly the speed of light. Our shields are designed to stop energy, not solid matter moving at these velocities. The second Vrex ship exploded. Then the third. The aliens tried to fight back, firing their plasma cannons at the human vessels. The energy beams hit the human ships but seemed to do very little damage. The human ships were built differently than alien vessels. Instead of shields that deflected attacks, they had thick armor that absorbed and spread out the energy. The alien weapons that could destroy cities were barely scratching the human hulls. "This is impossible," Kastai said as he watched another of his ships die. "How can primitives build such advanced vessels?" The battle was completely one-sided. The human ships moved with precision and coordination that the aliens had never seen. Every shot they fired hit its target. Every maneuver they made was perfect. Captain Morrison coordinated the attack from his command ship. His voice was calm and professional as he gave orders to his fleet. Beta Squadron, target their command vessel. Delta Squadron, prepare for boarding operations. Charlie Squadron, maintain suppression fire. The aliens realized they were not fighting primitives. They were fighting a species that had perfected the art of war. While the galaxy's races had developed beautiful energy weapons and telepathic powers, humans had focused on killing their enemies as efficiently as possible. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant watched the battle from Morrison's bridge. "Sir, 11 enemy ships are destroyed. One is trying to escape. Should we pursue?" Morrison thought for a moment. "No, let it go. They need to take a message back to their empire." The surviving Vrex ship limped away from the battle, its crew traumatized by what they had seen. In less than 1 hour, the supposedly primitive humans had destroyed an entire Imperial fleet. As the alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, Captain Morrison turned to his crew. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them the galaxy now knows we are not as primitive as they thought." The news of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. The species that had been dismissed as inferior had just proven they were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The news of the Vrex fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Emergency broadcasts filled the communication networks as alien leaders tried to understand what had happened. The species they had dismissed as primitive had just destroyed 12 powerful warships in less than an hour. On the Altarian homeworld, High Consul Veltara sat in her crystal meditation chamber, watching the battle recordings over and over. Her people were telepaths who could read minds, but they had never bothered to deeply probe human thoughts. They had assumed humans were too simple to be worth the effort. "We made a terrible mistake," Veltara told her advisors. "We thought they were primitive because their technology looked different from ours, but they are not primitive at all. They are specialized." The truth was becoming clear to those who studied the battle footage carefully. While the galaxy's species had all evolved in similar ways, developing energy weapons and mental powers, humans had taken a completely different path. They had focused on one thing above all others: warfare. The surviving Vrex ship had barely made it back to their home system. Commander Yethk, the only officer left alive on the bridge, was still shaking as he reported to the Vrex High Command. His shell was cracked, and his eyes showed the fear of someone who had seen death up close. "They knew exactly how to fight us," Yethk said to the assembled Vrex leaders. "They knew our shields would not stop solid projectiles. They knew our weapons would be useless against their armor. They have been studying us for years and preparing for this moment." The Vrex Emperor Korthek was furious. "How can primitives defeat our finest fleet? Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy. Our weapons can destroy planets." "That is exactly the problem," Yethk replied. "We built our weapons to destroy planets and fight other energy-based civilizations. The humans built their weapons to destroy us specifically. Every shot they fired was designed to kill Vrex ships." Meanwhile, on Earth, human military leaders were holding emergency meetings. Admiral Roberts sat in his underground command center, surrounded by screens showing the locations of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. The old man knew that the destruction of the Vrex fleet was just the beginning. "They will come back," Roberts said to his staff. "And next time they will bring more ships and different species. We have shown them that we are dangerous, but we have also made them afraid. Fear makes people do desperate things." Captain Morrison's ship, the UES Defender, was now heading back to Earth's orbit. The crew was celebrating their victory, but Morrison knew better. He had studied alien psychology for years and understood how they would react to this defeat. "Lisa," he said to his second-in-command, "send a message to all our hidden bases. Tell them to prepare for a much larger attack. The aliens will not make the same mistake twice." Lisa Grant nodded and began typing the coded message. She had learned to trust Morrison's judgment over the years. If he said the aliens would return in greater numbers, then they would. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Confederation was in chaos. The defeat of the Vrex fleet had shattered their confidence. Species that had felt safe for thousands of years were now worried about their own security. If humans could destroy Vrex ships so easily, what could they do to other alien fleets? The Kethmar hegemony, masters of energy manipulation, called for an emergency meeting of all military leaders. Fleet Admiral Corvish was chosen to lead a new campaign against the humans. Unlike the Vrex, the Kethmar had experience fighting difficult enemies. "The humans caught the Vrex by surprise," Corvish told the assembled alien commanders. "But we will not make the same mistake. We will gather ships from 5 different species. We will use different technologies and different tactics. No matter how well they have prepared, they cannot fight the combined might of the entire galaxy." The alien leaders agreed to send their best ships and most experienced crews. The Altarians would provide their telepathic abilities to coordinate the fleet. The Yuln would bring their defensive technologies. The Zefti would contribute their fastest ships. Together, they would field an armada of over 200 vessels. Back on Earth, human scientists were working frantically to understand alien technology. They had captured pieces of the destroyed Vrex ships and were studying them carefully. Dr. Helen Carter, the head of the research team, was amazed by what she found. "Their technology is incredibly advanced," she told Admiral Roberts, "but it is also predictable. They follow the same patterns as every other species in the galaxy. They all use energy-based weapons and deflector shields. They all think the same way," Roberts smiled grimly. "And that is their weakness. They cannot imagine doing things differently because they have never had to, but humans have always been different. We have always had to fight stronger enemies." The Admiral was right. Throughout human history, people had faced creatures stronger and faster than themselves. They had learned to use tools, strategy, and teamwork to overcome superior opponents. Every war had taught them new lessons about survival and victory. As the alien armada began to assemble at the edge of the galaxy, human factories worked around the clock to produce more ships and weapons. The asteroid belt was filled with construction sites building vessels that the aliens had never seen before. The humans were not just preparing to defend themselves. They were preparing to go on the offensive. The galaxy had declared them inferior, and now they would prove just how wrong that decision had been. The stage was set for the largest space battle in galactic history. On one side stood the combined might of dozens of alien species, confident in their technological superiority. On the other side stood humanity, a species that had turned warfare into an art form. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating humans was the deadliest mistake they could make. 2 months after the first battle, the largest alien fleet in galactic history assembled at the edge of the human solar system. Fleet Admiral Corvesh of the Kethmur hegemony stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the displays showing 215 warships spread across space. The fleet was impressive by any measure. Ships from 5 different species formed battle groups, each one bringing their own special abilities. The Altarians provided mind-reading telepaths who could coordinate attacks instantly. The Yuln brought their strongest defensive shields. The Zefti contributed their fastest attack vessels. The Kethmur added their most powerful energy weapons. This time will be different, Corvish told his diverse crew of alien officers. The humans surprised the Vrex fleet because they were unprepared, but we know what to expect. We have studied their tactics and prepared countermeasures. The alien admiral was confident in his strategy. His fleet had over 4 times as many ships as the humans possessed. Even if the human weapons were effective, they could not possibly destroy 200 ships before being overwhelmed. Begin the advance, Corvesh ordered. All ships maintain formation. We will show these primitives what happens when they challenge the entire galaxy. The massive alien fleet moved into the solar system, their engines creating a light show that could be seen from Earth. The aliens expected to find the human ships waiting near their home planet, ready to make a desperate last stand. They never made it that far. As the alien fleet passed through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, space itself seemed to come alive. What the aliens had thought were just floating rocks suddenly revealed themselves to be something much more dangerous. Hidden among the asteroids were dozens of massive human battle stations. Each one was larger than the biggest alien ship, and they were all armed with weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. These were not mobile vessels but fixed fortifications that had been built over many years. Impossible, Corvish whispered as his sensors detected the true size of the human defenses. How did they build so many installations without us noticing? The answer came in the form of weapons fire. The human battle stations opened up with railguns that fired projectiles the size of small buildings. The metal slugs moved at incredible speeds, punching through alien shields and hulls like they were made of paper, but the real surprise came from Earth itself. The planet that the aliens thought was defenseless suddenly launched thousands of small ships. These were not the large warships that had destroyed the Vrex fleet. They were tiny one-person fighters, each one carrying a single human pilot. Lieutenant Sam Parker climbed into his fighter cockpit on the launch platform orbiting Earth. He was 25 years old and had been training for this moment his entire life. Like all human fighter pilots, his body had been modified to handle the extreme forces of space combat. "This is Ghost Squadron," Sam reported to his carrier ship. "All fighters ready for launch." The human pilots were different from anyone else in the galaxy. Their bones had been strengthened with metal implants. Their reflexes had been enhanced with computer chips connected to their nervous systems. Their blood had been modified to carry more oxygen. They were still human, but they were also something more. Sam's fighter launched from the carrier and immediately pulled a turn that would have killed any normal person. The G-forces that pressed against his body would have crushed an alien pilot, but Sam's enhanced skeleton and modified organs allowed him to stay conscious and alert. Around him, thousands of other human fighters performed similar impossible maneuvers. They moved through space like deadly insects, too fast and agile for the alien weapons to track effectively. How are they surviving those acceleration forces? Corvish demanded of his science officer. No biological creature should be able to withstand such stress. The answer came from intercepted human communications. The pilots were not just skilled warriors. They were enhanced humans who had been changed by their own technology to become perfect space fighters. The alien fleet found itself fighting not just against ships, but against an entire solar system that had been turned into a weapon. The asteroid belt was filled with hidden guns and missile launchers. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn had been converted into military bases. Even the comets in the outer system carried human weapons. We are not fighting a species, Corvish realized with growing horror. We are fighting a civilization that has spent generations preparing for war. The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. The aliens had superior numbers, but the humans had superior position and preparation. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space debris had been turned into part of humanity's defense network. Sam Parker dove his fighter through a formation of alien cruisers, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge energy beams that moved at the speed of light. His fighter's weapons were small compared to the big ship guns, but they were precise and deadly. "Ghost leader to all squadrons," Sam called over the radio. "Enemy flagship is trying to retreat. All fighters, converge on target." The human fighters swarmed around the alien flagship like angry bees. Their small weapons could not destroy the massive ship quickly, but they could damage its engines and weapon systems. The alien vessel, designed to fight other large ships, was helpless against thousands of tiny, fast-moving targets. Admiral Corvish watched his fleet being torn apart around him. Ships that had conquered star systems were being destroyed by human weapons they could barely understand. The aliens had brought their most advanced technology and their best tactics, but it was not enough. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we have lost over half our fleet. The remaining ships are requesting permission to retreat." Corvish looked at the tactical display showing the destruction of his armada. The humans had turned their entire star system into a fortress, and every part of it was designed to kill alien invaders. "All ships," he ordered with a heavy heart, "begin emergency withdrawal. We cannot win this battle." As the surviving alien ships fled the solar system, the human fighters did not pursue them. They had made their point clearly. Humanity was not a species that could be bullied or conquered. They were a force that the galaxy would have to reckon with. The message was clear. Underestimating humans was a fatal mistake that the galaxy could not afford to make again. 6 months after the aliens first declared humans inferior, the galaxy was a very different place. 3 major alien fleets had been destroyed, and human ships were now seen in star systems that had been controlled by aliens for thousands of years. The species that had been dismissed as primitive was now expanding across the galaxy. Ambassador Zethkara stood once again in the great meeting hall on Nexus Prime. But everything had changed. The confident chittering sounds that his species made when they were happy had been replaced by nervous clicking. The other alien representatives looked worried and frightened. "The human ambassador is here," Zethkara announced to the assembled aliens. "She requests permission to address the Galactic Confederation." The doors of the Great Hall opened, and Ambassador Kate Sullivan walked in. She was 50 years old and had gray hair, but her steps were firm and confident. She moved like someone who knew she held all the power in the room. Kate had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. She had studied every alien species and learned their languages, their customs, and their fears. Now she was here to represent humanity as they took their rightful place among the stars. "Honorable delegates," Kate began, her voice carrying clearly across the vast chamber, "I stand before you today not as a representative of an inferior species, but as the voice of humanity's new position in galactic affairs." The aliens listened in complete silence. Many of them had never heard a human speak before. They had assumed humans were too primitive to be worth talking to. Now they were forced to listen as this human woman outlined the terms of a new galactic order. "The classification system that ranks species by tiers will be abolished immediately," Kate continued. "Human colonies that have been established in the past 6 months will be recognized as sovereign territories. All trade restrictions against humanity will be lifted." High Consul Veltara of the Altarians spoke up. "And what does humanity offer in return for these demands?" Kate smiled, but it was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who knew she was negotiating from a position of strength. In return, we will consider not expanding into star systems currently claimed by Confederation members. We will also share our defensive technologies with species that prove themselves cooperative. The threat was clear to everyone in the room. Humanity had already proven they could destroy any fleet sent against them. Now they were offering protection to aliens who accepted the new reality, while hinting at destruction for those who did. You see, Kate explained, the galaxy made a fundamental error when it judged humanity. You assumed that all intelligent species would develop technology in the same way. While you perfected energy manipulation and telepathy, we perfected something else entirely. She gestured toward a holographic display that showed the recent battles. Human ships destroying alien fleets, human fighters performing impossible maneuvers, human weapons punching through shields that had protected alien civilizations for millennia. We perfected the art of survival, Kate said. Every war in our history, every conflict, every challenge we faced taught us how to overcome superior opponents. You gave us the greatest gift possible when you declared us inferior. The alien delegates looked at each other nervously. Many of them were beginning to understand that they had awakened something dangerous. The humans had not just won a few battles. They had demonstrated a completely different approach to existence itself. Your classification was based on the assumption that shorter lifespans and aggressive tendencies were weaknesses, Kate continued. But you failed to understand that these traits made us stronger. We do not have thousands of years to waste on politics and ceremonies. We act quickly and decisively. Admiral Roberts sat in the observation gallery, watching the proceedings with satisfaction. The old military man had spent decades preparing for this moment. He knew that the aliens would eventually have to accept humanity as equals, but only after they had been thoroughly defeated. "She's doing well," Roberts said quietly to Captain Morrison, who sat beside him. "The aliens are starting to understand that they cannot go back to the way things were," Morrison nodded. "They're scared. They should be. We've shown them that. Their entire military philosophy is flawed." In the main chamber, Kate was finishing her presentation. "The choice before you is simple. You can accept humanity as an equal partner in galactic affairs, or you can continue to oppose us and face the consequences." The vote was held immediately. One by one, the alien species raised their appendages or made their traditional signs of agreement. The Altarians voted yes. The Yiln voted yes. Even the proud Kethmer, who had lost the most ships in the recent battles, voted to accept the new arrangement. Only the Vrex Empire abstained from voting. Their representative, Zethkara, looked defeated and broken. His species had been the first to feel humanity's wrath, and they were still recovering from the shock. When the final count was announced, the result was overwhelming. The Galactic Confederation formally recognized humanity as a Tier 1 species with all rights and privileges. Several alien species immediately requested defensive pacts with Earth, while others began establishing embassies in the human solar system. As Kate left the meeting hall, she passed Admiral Roberts and Captain Morrison in the corridor. The three humans stood together for a moment, looking back at the aliens who were still discussing the implications of what had just happened. "Do you think they learned their lesson?" Morrison asked. Kate considered the question carefully. "Some of them have. The smart ones will realize that underestimating humanity is a mistake they cannot afford to make twice. The others will learn eventually, one way or another." Behind them, the galaxy began to adapt to its new reality. The species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years now had to share power with newcomers, who had earned their place through strength and determination. In shipyards across human space, new vessels were being built. These were not just warships, but exploration vessels, trade ships, and colony transports. Humanity was no longer content to stay in one solar system. They were going to spread across the galaxy, and no alien government could stop them. The age of human expansion had begun. The aliens had declared humanity inferior, but they had been proven catastrophically wrong. Now the stars themselves would witness the rise of a species that had turned survival into an art form,